Matt,
Yes.
what is your favorite game console of all time and why?
This is. I'm not actually trying to be surprised because you told me this before we started doing this, but it's hard. It's
Hard to pick a favorite among your children.
it kind of is hard to pick because there are some games there are some consoles that on there I play games that are super nostalgic for me, and there are consoles of games on there that I play that either I personally think or that just are really good games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, especially when not all at the same time, but I've had consoles from each maker. I've had PlayStation 2s and PlayStation. I had a GameCube and a Wii. I had an Xbox 360 and an Xbox One. So I've had equal parts of other things.
Right.
Some consoles were definitely better than others. I'd have to say the Xbox 360 is my favorite.
How come?
Well, around the time when my family got an Xbox 360 is when I started getting into video games, like really, really into video games. 'Cause up until that point, I didn't care about a lot of things as far as games go. I just kind of played whatever we had, and whatever we had was usually whatever my brother bought or whatever my dad bought,
Mm-hmm.
because the games that I bought really weren't that great. But mainly because the 360 for like my generation has been like, that was kind of the peak of gaming at the time. And like there are some games that came out for that like they had predecessors that were good, and then they had games that came out for it that were just like boom. The biggest one being Halo 3, which is probably my favorite FPS game of all time because I put so much time into that game. That might honestly be the most played game that I've ever had or ever owned. And there's so many memories too. Like my buddies that I play League of Legends with, that I only recently started doing. Those are the same guys that I played Halo 3 with when I was in middle school. And it's just like, I remember getting home. We had made plans during school to like get on later and like play Halo 3, and we'd get on and we'd go into matchmaking events, and we would sometimes either do team player, sometimes we would do like customs where we would find like the most popular game types and game maps that were made, and we would just play them for hours. And also, you could create your own maps and your own game types. So you had things like Fat Man or Ice Cream Man, which is basically there's one person who's basically invincible and indestructible, and they get in a vehicle and they have to run over what was called like the Fat Kids, which was the enemy players, and they were all really slow, and the whole point was to get to like the end of the map. You had to go from one side of the map to the other without being killed, and when you got to the other end, you picked up a power up that basically made you even more invincible, and you could kill the Ice Cream Man, and it was really fun at the time.
You're horrible.
It might sound bad, but I loved playing stuff like that. And then I don't know how extensive I've talked about games like this, but like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, Slime Rancher, games like that. For some reason, I just kind of love. I love games that are just like simple chore games, and I actually talked about how people play sports games when you could literally just go play sports. I play games where I farm things and where I like take care of things. When I could literally go out, buy an animal, take care of it, or I could like buy a plant, I could take care of it, and it's like tomatoes everywhere, whoopee. But I'm not gonna make money off of it, and it's not gonna be as fun because it's a pain to make those things go or live.
You can make money off of them.
You can.
It's just harder.
Yeah.
Everything that you do in those games is harder in real life.
Yeah. But the point where I was leading with that was I played the Viva Pinata Garden. Whoa. I apologize.
Get down into your manly voice.
Yes. Viva Pinata,
Viva
the gardening game. I loved it so much. No, but I really... And that may have been like one of the... That may have been like a console release game. Because that came out really early in the lifespan of the 360. That had to have come out like the first year.
It did. Oh, yeah, it was definitely a first year release.
And that game was surprisingly fun. I remember one of my buddies tried to tell me that was a good game, and it was... I hadn't gotten to the point where I really liked games like Harvest Moon and stuff like that yet, but I think that was one of those games that got me into like going in that direction, because I remember spending a lot of time like figuring out how to get double-headed snake pinatas, and then triple-headed snake, quadruple head snakes, and then you could get a dragon and a T-Rex and like all these different things that you had to spend a lot of time doing, and it was a gardening game. You raised animals that were pinatas based off of a 4Kids TV show.
So weird. I didn't know it was a TV show.
Yeah.
Did the show come later?
No, it came before.
Wow.
And it was not that great. It was probably one of the weirder things out there, which is much more amazing that I like the game when the TV show was not that great. But yeah, it came out on 4Kids first, and then it became a game. And there was actually another game that they made, but that was a bad game. And then you had games like a Gears of War on there. There was a really popular game, Call of Duty, which was also on PlayStation, but I think at the time, when FPSs were like the thing, Microsoft was the one leading the charge in that front. I think there were more people who had, more people who played FPS games played on 360 than they did PlayStation. So you had like people playing Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War, just like, and those were all three at the time really good games. Gears of War 3 was really good game that lasted a long time. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, World at War were all like, those are some of the what people will claim as the three greatest Call of Duty games that have ever been made.
Mm-hmm.
And they are. Halo 3 was, not an opinion, literally the best Halo game. Fight me. I will do bad things to you. That is the best game. The multiplayer was the best. The story was the best story. It was honestly the greatest story out of any of the Halos. Like that for me is when Halo died. Halo 3 was the end of Halo as far as, progressing in the story goes, because Halo 4 and Halo 5 were not that great. Visually, yes, they were pretty good. Story-wise, they fell because they tried to be more like Call of Duty, and they shouldn't have, because Call of Duty nowadays is crap. But I heard good things about World War II. And then on the RPG front, you had games like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which was, I think, like, for 360, that was the big, like, fantasy RPG game that you could play. Until, I guess, Final Fantasy 12. Or
13.
Maybe 10. Did 12 not? 12 did not come on the 360.
11 did, oddly enough. 11 had a 360 version on it. The online.
That was the other RPG, or MMO, right? 11?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember a lot about that, but... Yeah, but like Bethesda really like
and
took the world.
Skyrim was also on 360.
That was further along in the lifespan, but yeah, like
Right.
Bethesda was just like, that's when they exploded. Was like Oblivion and Fallout 3. That was when people were like, oh,
They make good games.
this is a really good game. They're glitchy. There are some game-breaking glitches in those games that we have talked about people like to look away from, but they're there and they're bad. But the game as a whole is still really good and really fun. The Fable series.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people said that Fable... I can't remember how the hierarchy goes. I think Fable 2 was not the best. I can't remember if it
I
was
thought
Fable
3
1 or
was
Fable 2.
considered the worst.
See, that's actually really funny because I actually really liked 3. That's also the only Fable game I've played, is the third one. I really liked it. Because I thought that the world was a really cool world, and the choices that you made affected what happened in the game. You know, you can be good, you can be bad, and depending on what you choose depends on like the end of the game. And the game like that, Dishonored, I think was for the 360. That was a really good stealth game. I like Assassin's Creed, also really big on Microsoft. Still a giant like game company or gaming series nowadays. They did, get a little ahead of themselves, almost like going the Call of Duty route where one came out every year, and they were like falling off as far as like being good. New one looks promising, but yeah, the 2 and Brotherhood were arguably like the 2 best ones in the game. I know you're a really big fan of the fourth one, which was also on the 360, which is also a really good one. And I don't know, just like for breaking into the modern day at the time to what is now the modern day now, there are just so many games out for the 360, which were also kind of out for the PlayStation, but there were also some really good, console exclusive games like Halo and Gears of War, the Fable series. I know there's more. I just can't think of them, but not very more. The PlayStation 3 was definitely at the time like the king of the exclusives, because I will agree that the exclusives for the PlayStation 3 they outshined the exclusives for the 360. But
there were just a ton more of them.
There were, yeah. The 360 was more of like these go out all across all the platforms, but ours is probably the best. And by that they mean more people play this game on here than they do on the other one.
Yeah. Well, in any online game, I mean, the trade-off between the PS3 and the 360 was the PS3, it was free online multiplayer. 360, more people are playing.
Yeah.
So what do you go for? You gonna pay for it and have probably just a better online experience, or go with the budget?
Oh yeah.
And
also, like with Xbox Live, I made a lot of friends playing Xbox Live. Just playing like certain games. Like I ended up getting a few friends on there, but yeah, it's kind of sad I don't talk to them now because the account that I had on my 360, I ended up losing because the email account that we used for it was it was an old family owned account,
right?
And things happened. The family account, like the password for it was lost. No one could remember what it was. So I was really sad when my
gamer score,
my 20,000 gamer score 360 account was lost forever. And I really liked my name. My name was I think it was Pillsbury 14 because I had a jacket at the time. It was a really weird nickname. It was a green jacket, but when I flipped it inside out, which it wasn't like a reversible hoodie or anything like that, but I did it one time, and I was kind of chubby when I was in middle school, a bit more than I am now. And when I flipped it around, it was all white, and it was fluffy, and I was big, and my friends started calling me Pillsbury Doughboy, which was a little insulting. but it stuck, and it kind of became my nickname in
Were
middle
you
school.
the fat kid that the ice cream man was trying to run down in Halo 3?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
But I actually really liked the name. Like, as soon as they said that, I was like, yeah.
Yee.
And then I made that my name on Xbox Live. It was Pillsbury14, because at the age I was 14, and my nickname in school was Pillsbury. So,
There you go.
make them together. But yeah, I still remember that account. I still remember all the games that I played on there, and there was a lot of really good memories, and especially that was also kind of a darker time for myself. So, and I didn't have a lot of outlets.
Edgelord 64.
Yes, I was kind of serious about the whole edgelord thing. I was kind of dark and depressed back then, but and I didn't have very many outlets because I wasn't athletic and I wasn't really super smart. Still not really super smart at the time, but video games was like the one thing that I could do, and I was actually really good at playing video games back then. I'm kind of good now, but I also had more time back when I was in middle school, because literally middle school doesn't matter. Whereas to now, I'm an adult who has to pay bills and things, so one clearly had more time to be good at video games than the other. So I remember I had made it to like one of the highest ranks in Halo, just because like that was a game that I was really good at. My friends acknowledged how good I was, and I got to get some anger out playing a violent game. And that's just kind of how things go when you don't have a lot of things to do and you have a lot of emotions and it's a confusing time in your life. So video games was a really big outlet for me when I was that young, and the 360 was what I had to play, and I enjoyed it. I liked playing with my friends. I liked making new friends with people I had never met before who were older and younger than me. And it was just fun just playing video games with them. And that was the biggest impacting console that I had, because the Xbox One wasn't really super impactful.
Wait, the Xbox One or the original Xbox?
I actually didn't have the original Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's why the 360 is my favorite console.